very much, Irene, and just for those who would like to read the CVs of the pilots, there is this seminar booklet. There is all the information you need. And now I am very happy to introduce Theo Gavrielides, who will do the other part of, who is the European General Rapporteur, who will do his part of the background papers. Please, Theo, if you manage to get the technology working.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. What a great pleasure and an honor to be here today. I was very surprised when I was asked by the organising committee to be the main rapporteur for Europe. Because I just looked at the concept of human rights and violent radicalisation, and I thought that other scholars that are far more experienced than I am. And then I thought, oh, hang on a minute. First of all, there's an opportunity to go to a country of the Philippine, and that's very appealing. And then secondly, I thought I'd be a good sample of a European. And I was born in the only divided European capital, Nicosia, still divided. Then I moved to Athens, and then I finally migrated to the UK, where I live. I'm a European dad. My son doesn't speak Greek. My mother doesn't speak English. I try to reconcile and help them speak to each other. And I was also on the train after the train that was bombed in 2005 in London. So I think all of those things, which made me, I think, a good sample of a European, convinced me internally to take the responsibility and be one of the main rapporteurs for Europe and represent Europe. So Irene has already presented the some of the key elements of the paper. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but there's always a challenge, so bear with us. Irene has already presented the paper, and we have the paper, it was circulated. So I thought one of our goals as rapporteurs is to stimulate debate. And debate is stimulated not just conceptually, and you have the facts and the figures in the paper. Irene has presented some of the key facts, but also emotionally. So I thought my presentation would focus more on the emotions and tap into your emotions so we can get the debate going. And it's late in the evening, I didn't want to present you with more facts. I will present some facts, but I want to speak more to your emotions. So that's the advance warning. And I thought, we can read papers. We all travelled. I travelled 16 hours. I left my family at home. So I thought I'd come and give you my own perspective. So I take responsibility for what I'm going to say, and I'm intentionally going to trigger your emotions. So your emotions might be sympathy, might be anger, you might disagree, you might agree, which is why we have a session after this one to have a debate. So please write down your disagreements, your agreements, and we'd love to engage with you in the dialogue. And of course, we've got an entire day tomorrow to work on the workshops. You're doing that, okay. Brilliant. So, why human rights and violent extremism? We have to ask ourselves, why are we asking this question? Is it because when we think of human rights and we think of violent radicalisation, it's either because human rights are being violated in the name of preventing violent radicalisation, so you would see them as a good thing, or you would see them as a bad thing. So I'm asking, is it because violent extremism is going up in Europe, let's say? Is it because more people are dying due to terrorism? Human rights laws are getting in the way? Do we need to find better ways to protect ourselves? All these are questions, internal questions of why we're bringing the two concepts together. We have the next one. Or is it because we're worried that our civil liberties are at stake as we fight this war on terror. This narrative of them and us, which has been questioned, along with the security policies that we have set up. Our current practices, strategies, policies, the international agreements that we have, are they working or not? Is this why we're bringing these two concepts together? And is there another way for human rights values, human rights practices, and human rights education for preventing violent extremism? Are these ways out there and we don't know about them, or we know about them but we haven't spoken about them, and we need to come together to reveal them? So, I think you're here and you either have the security mindset or the human rights mindset. And the security mindset, which is, for some of us, unacceptable, and then you have the human rights mindset, which for the security people is unacceptable. The security mindset would say that the priority of any state is to protect citizens. So whatever you have to do, just make sure that you don't have more casualties. That is the priority of the state. That's why we trust our state. And in the fight of the war on terror and protecting the citizens, we have to put human rights on hold. They're not as important, especially the human rights of the terrorists. Security threats are increasing. That is the narrative of those with the security mind, and I'm sure there are some people here with that mindset. And those who have that mindset, the underlying feeling is the lack of trust, protect the borders, put in patient controls, don't trust the immigrants, don't trust the refugees, and so on. Then it has the human rights mindset, which is even terrorists have human rights. And we said just a minute ago that in the fight of terrorism, if you violate human rights, you lost the war already. Due process and fair trial. You are a suspect of a terrorist attack. You have to go to court. You have to follow due process. Guantanamo Bay discussions. All those things that we have been talking about. Civil liberties cannot be compromised in the name of security and the universality of human rights. Here we are in Asia talking about human rights with Europeans, but you're all talking about the same thing. These are the two mindsets. And this is my unicorn. And this is my hope that this seminar will achieve, will create the unicorn of reconciliation. Reconciling the two mindsets, because this is where I think the problem has been. Reconciling the mindsets of those who have the security mindset and the human rights mindset. And we missed so many opportunities because both mindsets are legitimate of bringing them together. And this unicorn is like the unicorn that we all dream about but will never see. We dream about it but will never see this unicorn. Is the solution that we always want to reach for but will never do. And is the all-loved unicorn that we never experience. And this is why we must act now. And yes, on the 10th of December, we're celebrating 10 years of the signing of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And now, personally, I think the road that we have taken, in terms of our security policies and practice in Europe, and I think internationally, I'll take that risk, is leading to further division and erosion of the social values that we set up the European Union for and other international organizations. And I don't think that is by coincidence. We are experiencing a democratic deficit. We're talking about democracy here. And there is a big section in the paper about democracy. And there are three fears that manifest and they fester this deficit. And that is security terror. So we talk about this terrorism, this radicalization, the financial terror, money, the economic downturn that we have been talking about, and identity terror. They're coming here, they're taking our identity, they're talking in different languages, they're speaking about other things that we're not about. So, move them away. And these are the images that we're getting day after day. How secure is Europe? These are the images that we're getting. And the new reality, how compromised our human rights have been the values that we have set to protect 70 years ago when we signed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So let's take a step back and see how did we get here in the first place. Because when you go in a European country, let's say the UK, you will talk about the faith issue. So it's a Muslim issue. Then you go to another European country, in Italy, and you talk about mafia. and then you go to Greece and you talk about immigration, and then you go to another European country and you can talk about something else. And these are different reasons that lead to us getting here in the first place. So let me address this myth about how bad the situation is, and then let us reflect on some of the narratives that we have been fed over the years. Last year, 2017, these are official statistics, terrorist attacks in the EU were 205. Then ask yourself, did you think there were more? And these attacks are not successful attacks. These are attacks that either were successful, failed, or stopped. 205 attacks. Okay? 107 of them were in the UK. Just in the UK. So more than half in the UK. How many died in 2017? 61 in total. 38 in the UK. 6 different attacks in the UK with 38 casualties. Okay? And yet, the UK has one of the most up-to-date, informed and scientific security strategies in Europe. That's a paradox. We spend more money on our security than any other European country, and we have the most strict security legislation and up-to-date legislation. So I have to ask, are we here to make our legislation, our strategies, more strict, to spend more money on the strategies that we already have? And I'm asking, why are all these strategies and all the money that has been spent and the policies that have been taken in the UK has more than 50% rate of attacks and people who have died because of those attacks. And of course, the UK is leaving the European Union, and the response of the European Union is, so what? It's a mess. So let me just say how common it is to be a victim, because I want to move on to the concept of victims. How common is it for you as a European to be a victim of a terrorist attack? Well, in 100,000 population statistics, 265 would die because of cancer, 132 because of the heart disease, and let's move on, 1.06 because of consumer products, and 0.03 because of terrorism. We're very close to the proportion, and the proportion of being hit by lightning. 0.01 being a victim of terrorist attack. So let's put that in context. Okay, so that's the background. So where do we go from here? Well, you may have gathered, we're talking about something else here. We're not talking about what we have been experiencing. We need to think outside the box, and that's what I'm trying to achieve here. We don't want to go down the same narrative. This is a unique opportunity of different experiences coming together from two different continents. And we've all talked about the root causes that lead to the polarization and the hate attitudes that then lead to those knock-on effects that we are experiencing, including this media frenzy and all the myths and all the stuff that come with it. We talked about the important role of communities. Listen and respond. Work with the communities on the ground. Where do human rights begin? In small places. Eleanor Roosevelt said, in small places that you can't put on the map. You know, in people's homes, in the kitchens, in the schools, in barbershops. That's where it all happens. Learn from each other and work together. And that's why we wanted to keep the seminar very focused, and we have the 4 workshops tomorrow. And unlike today, the workshops will be closed, and we are expecting everybody to contribute with an open heart and share your experiences in confidence. Our role is to help you think outside the box, share your ideas, and report at the end of the seminar and share the findings with you. So during the seminar, and I'm concluding with 2 more slides, and please do engage in the debate, do challenge us, because that's how we move forward. I want you to remember just 3 things in 3 slides, and then I conclude. The 5 victims of terror. I did speak about people becoming victims, direct victims of terror. that would get hurt, would either be killed or be injured. That is the primary victim. But there are other victims. There are those who have witnessed the attack and they bear the consequences of the attack for many years or for the rest of their lives. So the secondary victims are the family members of those who have been killed. And then is the vicarious victims, and that is the biggest victim. And I will move on to that one in a minute. And that is the public, is the fear that the attack has created. That is the biggest, that is the target of those attacks. And I don't want us to forget the forgotten victims, and that is the family or the friends of the terrorists. We all have families that are dysfunctional, and one thing leads to another. They are always the ones that are forgotten. I know that one of the biggest demonstrations that happened after the incidents in Paris, and we had the march, and there were thousands of people marching down the street, and they asked the family of the terrorist, how do you feel being part of that march? They said that this is the first time, after so long and listening to the rhetorics of the politicians and so on, that we actually felt included, and we felt that somebody was actually listening, because that march included the families of the so-called terrorists. So the target is the public, the essential victim. Those attacks are done not to kill Mary or Mohammed or John, is to scare the public. That is the main target. That is the victim, the vicarious victim. And I want you to think about that when we talk about tomorrow workshops, the pull factors, the women's group, and so on. And the attack, that terrifying message, is the vehicle to disturb our lives, our democracies. Making physical victims is just the vehicle. That is not the target. Yeah? And achieving that impact is impossible without our contribution. We contribute to that, including the media. How is it possible to cascade that fear without our role? Without your role, without my role, without the media's role? Very important to remember tomorrow. And the why. We all talk about the micro level. What led to that person to become a terrorist or being radicalized? They're young, they are from this background, they're Muslims, they're this and that. Very easy to go down that road. But what are the other levels that we need to think about tomorrow? The meso level, the supporting or even completely social surrounding. We talked about poverty. If there's no surrounding within those activities, then that micro level will not have any sort of sense. So what is that social surrounding that we're creating and we're part of? And then is the macro level, the radicalization of the power of the relevant public opinion. What is the public opinion? The macro level. So all those levels that create the why are very important to be discussed. Not just the micro level about the person. So all those levels that we would like to explore, especially in the context of two different continents. What are the differences and what are the similarities? Final words, I promise. A few requests. Please think outside of the box. Please remove your hats tomorrow. We will not be taking names. We will not be quoting everybody. It's important to get your experiences as Europeans, as Asians, as experts, as academics, as policymakers, and so on. And also remember one thing. Not all radicalization is bad radicalization. There's some radicalization that's actually good. And today is the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November, Ice Box Day. I was in Africa 3 weeks ago, and I had a question about radicalization. It was from a state, a nation that was creating consciously revolution because they wanted to liberate themselves from the empire. And let's not forget the colonies, how they liberated themselves, and how democracies, how some democracies were set up by radical young people who shake the power so that they can create a new democracy. So not all radicalization is bad radicalization. We're talking about violent radicalization and violent extremism. The acts that lead to deaths and fear that are not legitimate and are not along with the human rights standards that we have all agreed. And we're here from 2 different continents, and we're very interested to hear about examples of those projects that have come together to find a better solution. So if you know those projects, please bring them tonight. It's time. And you have to ask yourself tomorrow, which mindset do I have? Do I have the security mindset, or do I have the human rights mindset? And am I willing to find the middle equal? Thank you very much.